Hola mis amigos and possible amigos, my name is Staffer16, welcome back to another reaction video, and welcome to another reaction Charlie Brooker's Weekly Wipe. So we have, counting this one, 4 episodes left, I think. Maybe after this is over, I'll go back into the screen wipe episodes. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. But for now, Series 3, Episode 3.
Hello, I'm Charlie Brooker, and you're watching Weekly Wipe, a programme all about things that are happening.
Hell
things like this. HSBC has been accused of helping customers avoid taxes, apparently encouraging them to hide profits in Switzerland. I, for one, am disappointed in HSBC because they always seemed like such a nice, faceless conglomerate. Greece might have to pull out of the Eurozone. The looming crisis seems like a fait accompli.
Oh, what's
terrible
this?
Pitter, going from kebab to worse.
I remember this.
Grease puns.
Intense consensual domestic violence movie 50 Shades of Grey is about to come out.
I read the script. It had hit written all over it in the stage directions. The main character is an S&M fanatic called Christian Grey. Already people are asking, when will moderate Christians condemn his campaign of violence? There were jubilant and uplifting scenes as Eddie Redmayne triumphed at the BAFTAs. He appeared in The Theory of Everything, playing a young Stephen Hawking before he'd evolved wheels. But we start with ISIS.
Okay, well.
Tonight at 10, outrage in Jordan as one of its pilots is burnt to death by IS extremists.
It feels like ISIS is engaged in a kind of sickening game of one-downsmanship with itself, daring itself to produce something more barbaric than the last killing. It's hard to know, really, how to even wrap your head around this level of horror, coupled with its total accessibility. Not so long ago, we had to fall asleep to experience nightmares. We now live in a world where at any moment your phone could buzz in your pocket. There might be someone tweeting a photo of their lunch or a video of someone dying in agony. Then there's the question of whether to look or not to look. Spoiler, the sane answer is not to look, which isn't made easy for you. The numb and frightened faces of the victims appear on the front page of newspapers and in search results. It becomes unavoidable. Not that everyone tries to avoid it.
In the Daily Mail, Piers Morgan claimed he was glad he watched the video depicting a caged man being burned to death because it helped him understand how evil ISIS can be.
Which betrays an astounding lack of imagination. Fox News, meanwhile, broadcast an exhaustive spoken-word, moment-by-moment description of the video from host Shepard Smith, who'd watched it so you wouldn't have to.
It's also
which you didn't have to anyway.
We're not going to show you the video, obviously. It's 23 minutes plus that video.
And you got to cut to commercials in 10 minutes.
I'm going to tell you about it. All of it, every bit of it.
Fox also garnered much criticism for embedding the entire video uncensored on their website. Tells you something about America's stomach for violence, really, that while a terrorist snuff video can be carried uncensored, an innocuous report about a nudist beach on the same website comes with black boxes superimposed over the buttocks, because it's important to confront the reality of murder. But oh my we can't handle a bum. If ISIS ever start killing people in the nude, Fox is going to have a real editorial dilemma on it.
I know where that beach is, by the way.
Of course, TV news is helplessly institutionally addicted to relaying eye-popping imagery wherever it comes from and whatever it shows, as this shocking footage of the recent Taiwan air disaster makes clear. As a consequence, the slickly crafted video output of ISIS has effectively turned swathes of the Western media into an unofficial jihadist propaganda distribution network. It all conspires to make you feel absolutely helpless. To feel less helpless, you could get the inside track by watching informative current affairs shows like Newsnight. They didn't quite get an interview from someone from ISIS, but they did speak to an expert from an anagram of ISIS, IISS.
I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at 10 to 15 years of instability and insecurity in Iraq, in Syria, in parts of North Africa.
The guy from the IISS says ISIS, any other crisis.
Maybe more than 10 years.
Let's see what CSIS says vis-a-vis ISIS so we can assess this.
The U.S. can probably bring in the air power if the president decides to take that risk.
See, CSIS says we've got to seize this if we're going to cease this. That's his thesis, that we're all in the feces.
Bars. Hooray, bullshit.
Entertainment and movie buffs rejoice as Britain gets its first 4DX cinema, which transforms the cinema-going experience forever. Instead of sitting through a shit and awful modern film, you'll physically suffer through a shit and awful modern film, while the cinema itself jolts you back and forth in a desperate bid to keep you awake. You know, like films used to, back in the days when they had stories. As well as shaking the audience around like gawping skittles on a Vietnamese bus, the 4DX system puffs out smoke, sprays you with water, emits smells from a backstage depository, and even releases bubbles. You know, for all those films with bubbles in, like Indiana Jones.
Right.
And the Bubble Hand Man. Anyway, the
Bubble
initial
Buddy.
test drives proved exciting, as all the news channels were keen to point out.
Pretty glasses.
Let's start the effects.
Oh, but hang on, am I going to get wet?
I suppose it depends on what kind of film you're watching. One film, sadly unavailable in 4DX, is erotic beat-em-up
Damn it.
50 Shades of Grey.
That's
Cinemas
40.
across the land are preparing to fling their hot red doors wide open for this movie adaptation of one of the finest works of literature of our age. As the finely crafted trailer makes clear, it's a love story in which innocent young Anastasia Steele shacks up with sadomasochistic dreamboat Christian Grey. He's a sort of Lego Colin Firth, who initially seems like any other besooted pisshat, but it transpires he has predilections, as becomes apparent when he pops up in Anna Steele's DIY store, in what closely resembles a Two Ronnies tribute.
Do you stock cable ties?
No, but we've got 4 candles. In fact, Grey has a secret red room filled with objects you can either smack someone with or push up your arse, which describes absolutely any room, come to think of it.
Yeah.
Most sex films cater to male fantasies, so even if 50 Shades is rubbish, it's at least notable that it revolves around female sex fantasies. It's more of a bean flick than a
true.
chick flick, but if that's vaguely progressive, the unofficial tie-ins aren't, a glaring example being this ad for washing liquid Flirty Shades of Surf.
Hi, we're the Surf Household Heroes. To celebrate the new Flirty Shades of Surf fragrance.
Don't know what surf's got to do
All
with
right.
sadomasochistic sex. Maybe you can use it as a lubricant. Naturally, the film's imminent release didn't go unnoticed by Housewives' favourite and brunchtime BuzzFeed simulator This Morning, which used it as an excuse to
Oh,
do a
crap.
cheerful item on specialist f***ing equipment.
So, before I continue, don't ask me why I know this. Somebody told me this back in the day. Apparently, 50 Shades of Grey was originally written as Twilight fan fiction. And then the authors just changed the character names. And the rest is history. But it was literally Twilight fan fiction. That's how it started. Which, yeah.
Good morning. On the show today, we open the bedroom door and unlock the secrets between the sheets with a lowdown on a range of toys that you might not normally admit to owning.
Well, I, for one, love my Pippo Schofield collection, and I don't care who knows it. Instead, a
You
bunch
might
of
care who
adult
knows it
fun
now.
products were examined in detail and demonstrated live on air in a kind of QVC BDSM OMFG.
Now this is USB rechargeable, so it's brilliant because you don't need to worry about replacing the batteries.
Yeah, but on the downside, you do have to worry about getting tubes in your USB socket. The
Right.
pervy gizmos ran the full gamut, from vanilla old eye masks to, for God's sake, pull this thing out of me. But also hot amateur reviews from actual readers' wives.
I rate these 6 out of 10. If you like pain, you'll love these, but they are painful.
And there were handy hints, like the importance of safe words.
It's very, very important that both partners are fully into it and that you settle on a safe word. So if it ever gets a bit too much or you decide you don't like it, say your safe word and you both know that that means stop.
It's funny, really, because the word stop doesn't count as a safe word, apparently. It has to be something you'd never normally say during sex, like Schofield! The undisputed high point, which was sadly slightly off camera, came when Pip Schofield tested a nipple clamp on himself.
There's a proper grip on those.
I actually had to pinch myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming, which really turned me on. Ooh, solo BDSM. Oh, I'm a naughty boy. Oh, ow, ow, oh, stop. Oh, ow, stop it. Ow, ow, Schofield, Schofield!
I'll tell you what's a worry. The economy. I mean, the recovery can't be going brilliantly if the biggest business story of the past week has been Poundland buying 99p stores for 55 million. That's a heck of a markup. And the 99p store's already got a rival snapping at its heels.
And what would you say is the main difference between you and the 99p stores?
There's 1p less.
Money is just not what
I
it
knew he
was.
was going to say that.
A few years ago, everyone in the world was loaded and into this sort of bling stuff.
Yeah.
But then the computers crashed and all the money was deleted. So now there's nowhere near as much as there was. It mainly affected money outside the banks because they'd backed most of theirs up, so they could still print it out on banknotes. But the rest of us have to do austerity until our money comes back, which is taking ages. Basically, with austerity, you spend less on stuff you don't need, like art installations or pavements. Not everyone's into it. Like, the disabled keep moaning about the benefits being taken away, but they can still make money by doing Paralympics or getting mugged outside their own home.
It's hard to care about austerity because it's not like a tornado or an explosion where you can see pictures of it on the news and go, oh dear, that's their life's ruined, and then rewind it and watch it again. Austerity is sort of invisible, like a gas, but a gas that kills money. And there's not much to show on the news except things that are closed or sort of maths things or food banks, which are like NatWest for peas.
Oxfam says the wealthiest 1% will soon own more than the rest of the world's population.
I suppose it's a bit gutting seeing the 1% people put up the nice tall pointy buildings while everyone else is sort of coughing to death in knackered old hospitals on the ground. But with a lot of the 1%ers, it's not their fault they're in the 1%. They were just born there. They've literally done nothing to put themselves in the 1%, so picking on them is literally the same as racism.
Since the money crisis began, loads of European countries have been skint, but Greece, right, got totally skint. So basically, Germany lent them loads of money, like Wonga, but in German, which is
Yeah, I
Vonga.
remember this.
The Greek economy had to undergo IMF treatment and do tons of austerity, like really austerity the fuck out of itself. After a while, they didn't want to keep up the repayments, so they invented a new government who didn't believe in money.
There's uncertainty in Europe tonight after Greece voted in an anti-austerity government.
After the Greeks stopped believing in money, the Spanish stopped believing in it too. And now the Eurozone people are worried everyone might stop believing in it and it'll disappear and we'll have to barter with like sticks or like, I don't know, handfuls of soil instead of using bank cards.
I got sticks.
Which would be tragic because they've only just invented that contactless payment thing.
They said austerity left Greece devastated, but it's hard to tell because the footage was all people sitting around and things looking a bit half-finished and political graffiti on the walls, which is what Greece looked like anyway back in 2002 when I went there with my mate Paul. He fell off a scooter and took all the skin off his palms.
Ooh.
That's not relevant, but it stuck in my head and I don't think the sight of it will ever leave me, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that.
As Greece's freshly elected government goes head-to-head with the Eurozone, all eyes are on Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis. Not because he's a pivotal figure, but because he looks cool as shit.
Welcome to the eye of the European storm.
This is Greece, formerly associated with carefree fun in the sun. But more recently, the skies have darkened, and we're now being told that this place is threatening to bring down with it the whole of the European continent.
Yes, it's Yanis Varoufakis, the coolest politician in the world. I mean, look at him. He doesn't even wear a tie. And he looks like a murderer. That's cool.
Yeah,
and he rides a motorbike. He's like the Terminator, but for Greek debt. The pay-you-later. He's also got his own Twitter account, a blog about how money doesn't really exist, and he's got a devoted following of groupies. He's the Liam off One Direction of Greek finance ministers. But Europe seems scared of him, possibly because he looks a bit like a Bond villain. He dresses like a Bond villain, he grins like a Bond villain, and he sounds like a Bond villain.
My message to our German friends, and indeed to all Europeans, is that no hand will be overplayed.
And now, Mr. Bond, I expect you to yield. Varoufakis has been complaining about austerity ever since the 90s when he dressed like a backing dancer from a Paula Abdul video.
We have
and
a
had
much
hair.
higher deficit than we had in '89 and a great deal of pain in terms of a reduction in living standards.
More recently, he's been muttering dire warnings about Nazis, actual Nazis, i.e. Golden Dawn here, who came third in the Greek elections and might benefit should Syriza fall.
Holy
His mention
shit.
of Nazis added a bit of spicy historical beef to the economic standoff between Greece and Germany. To wear my historical hat for a moment, back in World War II, Germany occupied Greece. Hundreds of thousands of people died and the Nazis drew a forced loan from the Bank of Greece. Well, the new Greek government claims that debt has never been fully paid back. Anyway, recently,
Probably wasn't.
Varoufakis has been out and about looking cool, touring Europe to tell financial bigwigs he wants a negotiation over Greece's crippling debts. I'm not quite sure what his strategy is, but I think it chiefly involves trying to convince everyone in Europe that money doesn't actually exist. And he's so frugal that when he travels, he carries his own luggage, he flies economy, and he avoids roaming charges by only using an imaginary phone.
And I have to tell you, I'm a great BBC fan. I've never listened to such an inaccurate report.
Yes, Varoufakis is the man of the moment. When he visited the UK, even our anchors sounded impressed.
The man who could yet bring down the euro, the new Greek finance minister, rocked up in Downing Street today in biker boots and a leather jacket.
Sure enough, as ITN skillfully depicted, he's so cool and austere, he'd walked all the way there from Greece, dressed like a cool bin man to fool the TV cameras.
In fact, this cameraman filmed the rather more plausible besuited official walking up Downing Street to meet George Osborne.
As soon as he was indoors, he looked comfortable and at home, much more so than George, as he patiently explained to Osborne that money doesn't exist, therefore being Chancellor is a waste of f***ing time. News that didn't seem to go down too well with Gideon here.
Well, it's clear that the standoff between Greece and the Eurozone is fast becoming the biggest risk to the global economy, and it's a rising threat to our economy at home.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, mate. Money isn't real anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
I read it on a blog in Greek.
Me too.
I can read Greek. Anyway, having thoroughly spooked Gideon, Varoufakis slightly undermined his cool guy image when he left without his leather coat. Although, come to think of it, he'd probably sold it to someone indoors for 20 euros, which will probably be enough to buy Athens in a few weeks. Privacy is a hot topic right now, because Samsung has warned owners of its smart TV to watch what they say while sitting in front of it, because unlike your family, it actually listens to you. Someone else who's concerned about privacy, especially internet privacy, is typical YouTube vlogger Zeb, who's here to enliven us with some of his young online views. Take it away, Zeb.
Hi gang, Zeb here, just saying hello. Hi. So, the other day I read this thing about David Cameron's plans to let the government snoop on like everything you do on the internet, which seems sort of nosy.
I said it before, but it's crazy how accurate this is.
Protest jam about it. Then I had some toast, then I did a bit more jamming, and I had a little think. And I thought, I'll do this upload.
This really is how vlogging used to be.
Privacy is so cool.
It's almost like a time capsule.
Privacy's cool because it lets you do like private things. Like my parents used to follow me on Twitter and they were always eavesdropping on what I said and being all parenty. That wasn't totally Mum's fault. She's kind of a downer and sometimes does stuff like lying in bed all day with the door and curtains shut. Mum, what's for tea? Hello? Oh, cheer up. It's blatantly one of the top 5 reasons why I moved out when I finally got my book advance. Mum doesn't like to talk about the crying in bed stuff, and that's what's private for her, and I respect that. But on the other hand, what I say on Twitter is private between me and my followers. So I blocked her, which was really hard for me, so I did an upload about how I felt. So what's the point in having a mum sometimes, you know what I mean? I don't mean that horribly, And that got loads of likes, so I followed it up with another one. I'm just sick of it. And when she is awake, she's in my ear hole all the time. And then Dad showed up in the comments, which was a total violation of privacy. So I reported him for spam, because sometimes privacy's a right you have to fight for. I did one of my epic rants about that a few weeks ago, actually.
98 subscribers.
Don't worry if you missed it, because I've shot a sort of higher tech version of it for that new ITV
Wait a
2
minute.
show I'm in next week. House of Tuber.
Not House of Tuber. 13 million views. Teens react to ISIS vlog. Shit peas trilogy. Kayla recites racist tweets. You got a 15 million view video and a 13 million view video, but 98 subscribers. Wait a minute. This has 12 million.
Don't worry if you missed it, because I've shot a sort of higher tech version of it for that new ITV 2 show I'm in next week. House of Tuber. God, shut up, the pair of you. She just leave me alone.
4.5 my ass.
Made in Chelsea for vloggers. I've already seen the rough cut and it's sick. The production dudes asked me not to upload it here because it's private to them till it goes out. So, of course I said yes because privacy rules. And that's why I say no to the Snoopers Charter. Don't forget to subscribe for my channel.
Song for
58
Capaldi.
uploads a day, 7 days a week.
They are
Thanks for
just not
watching.
cool.
Bye.
I agree.
While austerity swirls around us, TV is encouraging viewers to tighten their belts with shows like Eat Well for Less, in which MasterChef's Greg Wallace and TV greengrocer Chris Babin try to stop regular folk overspending in the supermarket. Greg Wallace is a good choice for this show because he reminds you of the cheapest food there is, the potato. And his sidekick Chris is a cheeky chappy, a sort of dapper Sprouts.
Would you be happy with it if it came in a black box or a pink box?
or a polka dot box?
It doesn't matter to me what colour box it comes in.
I can't help thinking the Cockney twosome is wasted in this format. They could be a pair of new Mitchell brothers walking into the Queen Vic, not slouching round Tesco moaning about the sinister conspiracy of great big labels telling you how much things cost.
Why are they telling me so boldly that that is £2? Because it must be good value.
I've come in
because it's £2.
and I've never went to buy strawberries, and now I'm buying them because it's got a big red sticker on it.
Yeah, f***ing manipulative supermarket bastards. You know what? Next they'll be giving you some sort of cage on wheels to make it easy to carry those strawberries around.
Yeah.
Devious f***ers. Greg and Chris are down the supermarket to lurk in the background as this week's family do their regular shop, which generally consists of them thoughtlessly lobbing produce into their trolleys without giving a fig for the financial consequences.
Howard's impulsive habits have the food bills racking up.
Like I've heard of that. Sumac. I've no idea what it is or what you'd use it for. I'll go for it.
This wanton, decadent spending on the likes of frozen sausages outrages the
Potatoes
Mitchell
are
brothers,
still cheap.
as well it might.
What's that? What's
Looking
that?
at potato bread.
Is that frozen sausages?
We usually have 3 bags in the freezer. 2 are on standby.
How many bags in the freezer, Jenny?
3.
Oh!
How many sausages
Three.
are the family going through?
Then they trail them all the way home, and before the family
That's
can
weird.
unpack their 1,000 bags of sausages, Greg and Chris perform a full audit on their kitchen, apparently getting wound up at what they discover is already there.
Greg, this is full of stuff. They've just been and bought.
You're kidding me. That is a full-up fridge.
This is what it should look like after you've been shopping.
Ah, those wasteful f***s. They are worse than ISIS. Or should I say, Risis.
Crying out loud. Do we really, really need this much rice? They'd be much better off buying a great big 2-3 kilo bag.
I mean,
of
they're
rice.
not wrong, but
You know,
that's
I
a
hope
weird
Greg's only
show.
pretending to be angry about what's in someone else's cupboards.
Yeah.
If he's really this furious about it, it's a disturbing mental condition. It makes more sense to shoot John Lennon because you've read Catcher in the Rye than it does to be angry about the amount of beans in someone else's kitchen.
Beans! 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 Beans!
Beans!
There's
Beans!
beans everywhere. And that may be a crazy concept to them. Go to the supermarket, buy some food, and eat it.
Having been infuriated by the contents of the kitchen, they stage a baked bean tintervention, confronting the couple with the financial insanity of their spending habits.
Over the course of a year, it comes to about £13,000. That is an incredible amount of money.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's not funny.
No.
Tell you what, mate, cheer yourself up. Have a spoonful of sumac and a sausage. Now, this point at which the
And
family
beans.
realise they should maybe make their money go further should really be the end of the show, but it isn't because the BBC has to make its licence fee money go further. So the programme keeps going, stretching a 5-minute piece into a 58-minute epic. So there's item after item, some bits involving the family, some bits
58
of consumer
minutes?
reportage.
You're going to show me how to make orange juice from concentrate?
Yes.
I'm not
Reviews of
watching
different
this.
tea bags,
It was a bit tangy, but I think it had a flavour.
basic cookery advice.
Maybe I would have if it was
3
half an hour, but
cuts in there.
an hour? Fuck that.
3 or 4 down like that.
And bits where there's absolutely nothing to do, but they have to just fill in anyway because the cameraman's apparently paid by the day and not the hour.
Got to be a bit Italian, Howard. Sing some Italian songs.
Onions, onions, what you gonna do? Onions, onions.
For me and you. La, 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 la.
This is just like being in jail with these people. I've eaten economy sausages with less filler than this. Come to think of it, this is just like an economy sausage. It's cheap, mass-produced, and it contains chunks of meat of dubious origin. Anyway, by the end, the family has learned to live within its means, and
Take on
everyone's
me.
learned a thing or two about thrift.
That's a great saving. That's a keep for me.
But perhaps the biggest lesson in thrift is how to make a spare presenter you've got in the cupboard go a long way, because the BBC is certainly getting the most out of Greg Wallace. As well as eat well for less, they make him judge meals in the super tense MasterChef. He stir-fries whatever that is in the entertaining British food revival. He jigs around on the glamorous Strictly Come Dancing. He takes part in sick 9.5 Weeks tributes in the scintillating magic show The Magicians. He enlivens an otherwise dry money programme with his barking.
I'm Greg Wallace, and I want to know how the downturn is changing the way we eat.
He speaks to potential relatives in the moving Who Do You Think You Are?
My name's Greg Wallace.
He's a bit of cheerful table padding on the Hootenanny.
Greg Wallace and Deborah Meaden here.
Oh god, so much
He's
Greg
a
Wallace.
guest panellist on Would I Lie to You?
Ah!
He's listing pet hates on the Laugh a Minute Room 101.
Jesus.
Tonight are Master Chefs Greg Wallace.
He's a welcome present on the warm and cuddly Great British Bake Off and
My
Extra Slice.
god.
Greg Wallace.
Why is there so much Greg Wallace?
He keeps the sofa warm on the Pleasant the One show.
Bruh.
Don't get much better than this.
Nice. It's John Turode and Greg Wallace.
He waddles around with things dangling from his
Oh,
throat
come
with the
on.
eye-popping shooting stars.
Try and get him in his mouth, Greg. It should go for it. I hope it's this.
Even when he's not physically present, he's still there. He's used as a visual reference on the Arresting Crime Watch.
He looks a little like MasterChef's Greg Wallace.
He
They
does.
mention him on uplifting daytime soap Doctors.
You're the one who pervs over Greg Wallace and stares at pictures of food on the internet.
Well, not
Dog. I didn't know Greg
He's
Wallace
likened
was
to a
big.
contestant on Pointless.
It's like Greg Wallace looked to have. What do you reckon of that? You
Greg Wallace, yeah, I can see that.
He brightens up the odd one out round of Have I Got News for You.
John Donne, Greg Wallace, and Thor.
He's the subject of a question on the tense game show Perfection.
Greg Wallace is a qualified rugby coach. Is that true or false?
I know who my thumbnail's gonna be.
It's true. Good bit of knowledge there, Gary.
He's the subject of a question on glitzy quiz show Break the Safe.
Holy shit.
Is correct. He's the subject of a question on glitzy game show Breakaway.
What is
Which
this?
Australian chef co-presents MasterChef with Greg Wallace?
And he's casually discussed on the Cosy Celebrity
The hell's
Antiques Road
Breakaway?
Trip.
Who was your judge?
John Turode and Greg Wallace.
Oh, Greg Wallace. Gosh.
Yeah.
Say what you like about the licence
Yeah.
fee, you can't complain about how much Greg Wallace you get for your money.
Clearly
Valentine's
not.
Day is nearly upon us. I'll tell you what would be a really good show to watch on Valentine's Day.
Something
Dinner
with Greg
Date.
Wallace?
Look at it. Brilliant. So romantic. But could it be even more brilliant if it was compressed down and performed against the clock by Mr. Jake Yap? Well, yes, it could. Here he is.
I'm a generic, non-threatening northern voiceover, introducing a completely original format without precedent in television history that isn't in any way a dining contest with a dating element nailed onto it. Let's meet Brian Bland from the Midlands, who'll choose from 5 menus with heavily flagged clues to the depressed dates behind them. Menu number 1 has a starter of Princess Pink Cat Lady in Waiting calamari, followed by needy fish pie and a dessert of Why Am I Crying salted caramel cheesecake. Menu number 2 has exotic fried plantains, followed by token jerk chicken and spicy jollof rice with a dessert called I Am Black, OK, mango parfait. Let's go to our first date in a soulless house on a new build estate in Leicester, decorated by Homebase with Dance Like No One's Watching.
I have no
stenciled
idea
on
what's
the wall,
happening.
where Sue is preparing her starter of Get Up and Go, grilled lettuce, followed by I might be 38, but there's still hope if I work out enough fat-free cabbage salsa, and a warm air pudding. Bing bong goes the door. I brought this for you. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, come through. Thanks. Time to make a few sardonic and unfunny comments in voiceover. Again, a fresh take on dining competition television, and a bit too over-reliant on phrases like as you do and that'll be the salt then, as we watch them brokenly stagger through the evening, play acting at adulthood like children abandoned in a Romanian orphanage. What's the verdict? I give it 1.5 stars. I give it 1.5 stars. Repeat times 3, and now Brian must choose which one to take on a date in the Ponzi Bistro up the road, and which two, and this is where the format really bursts into life, will get a ready-made meal to microwave. Spectacular finale!
What the hell
And look
is
at that,
this
he's picked the Black
show?
Lady because she least resembles whoever he was last living with. Possibly his ex-wife, but probably his mother. Bye!
Fuck.
Democracy, and Sky News emboldens the voting process with some stand-up and be counted democracy in action type bumwash in which young people got to blatantly ask the leaders bare questions. The young are always asking questions, mainly because of that stupid rising cadence thing they do, where everything's a question, because they're insecure, stupid little bastards. The event was held at Facebook's London HQ. You know, Facebook, the social network young people associate with their parents.
Right.
Because it was for young people, they had young people things there to keep the young people occupied.
Ping pong table here. They're going to bat those questions back and forth. This is a breakout area, as young people call it, apparently, in trendy parlance these days. Table football there. Will any of the leaders today
breakout
score
area?
an own goal?
Jesus, how are you going to patronise them next? What, give them a sweet shop? Oh, right, yeah, you have.
Oh, God.
For me personally, she was an inspiration.
The youth of today aren't moved by politics, although you could see them being moved by members of the production team. The leaders were being quizzed by average, everyday young folk, only around 75% of whom seemed to be wearing glasses. Because it was for young folk, it was styled like a late 90s Zoo TV format or nosing around. 2 references they won't understand. Still, on its own, the decor might not have looked too cool, but the moment David Cameron strode in, the set instantly became 200 times cooler by comparison.
Thank you, David Cameron. That's a round of applause to the Prime Minister. Thank you very much.
In the event, Cameron managed to just about withstand his burning compulsion to assume reptilian form and devour the nearest bystander in front of horrified onlookers. Coping equally well with the Crash-like vibe was Supersonic Sid Miliband, who found himself interviewed by Sky's youth-friendly selfie stick interviewer.
That's your first selfie stick interview? It is my first selfie stick interview.
Ed doesn't have a selfie stick of his own, but then he doesn't really have a self. Anyway, the high point
Brutal.
came when a member of the Ords, that's youth speak for audience, asked Ed Miliband how authentic a person he really is.
Outside of politics, what experience do you have, what life experience do you have to associate and indicate that you should be the one to represent the people of Britain?
Well, I've done a number of things which I think, I hope are relevant to this. So, I was obviously an economic advisor in the Treasury, and I think that's important.
Might be important, Ed, but the question was outside of politics?
Yeah.
I've taught.
Oh, okay.
I taught at Harvard University.
Ah, no, not normal.
I actually taught around government and economics.
That's politics again.
Yeah.
I think that actually one of the things that did for me being able to teach was actually the ability to be able, I hope, to listen and engage with people.
Well, you didn't listen and engage when he asked you not to mention politics.
Yeah.
Let's go back to this.
God damn it.
What politics is about.
Stop saying politics.
Yeah, he said.
I think this is the big.
It literally says the question on the bottom of the screen.
You might wonder.
Can you not stop? Stop! Schofield! Well, that's all we've got time for this week.
Oh, no
Till
moment of
next
wonder?
time, go away.
This is the first time there's not been a moment of wonder for a while. What the fuck? How is it that Greg Wallace has been in so much shit, and yet I don't think I've ever seen him in anything? In 2021, he presented a 6-part ITV series called South Africa with Greg Wallace. In 2021, he presented 2 Channel 5 Christmas specials. Greg Wallace's Greg Christmas and Greg Wallace's Magical Christmas Market. Good God. Fuck. Wait, so is he on Channel 5 now? What the hell's going on? Holy shit. So much Greg Wallace. Again, I don't think I've actually seen... I've watched UK MasterChef. I don't think I've ever actually seen him in anything. But now I've seen him in everything. Holy shit. Alright, well, Greg Wallace aside, that is going to do it for another episode of Charlie Brooker's Weekly Wipe. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's it from me today. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, they're all in the video description down below, as well as names on my patrons. If you didn't know, you can be a patron on me for as little as $1 or £1. You need extra direction videos, as well as reading your comments up to date, or leave sometimes more. For all that being said, though, my name is Taffrey Steen. This has been my reaction to Greg Wallace, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.